Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. March 30th, wow, the month has gone by really quickly, and it's time for another weekly recap. So welcome to everyone. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you're a regular viewer, I got another nice show for you guys. Hopefully bloom more variety. I'm going to apologize right off the bat. I'm a little bit under the weather. I think I'm catching something, and in fact I'm not even drinking coffee. I'm drinking hot tea, so something's not right here. So if I don't have that same punch or jump or passion, you'll be able to notice it right away. But having said that, there's nothing that I would rather do at this point in time, even under the weather, than do what I'm doing right now. So we've got some, as usual, we're going to take a look at the market. There's one exciting pen that's out in the Chinese pen market that I really want to show you. Hopefully I'll get it soon. I didn't get it yet, but it's out there. In fact, two of them that I did not get, and if I do get them at the last minute while I'm taping this, well, we'll change the whole video, that's all. In the interim, I've got some paper that I want to show you as well. Interesting, very interesting paper. A really good alternative, I think, to TOMOE River paper. I've got some inks, as usual. We'll take a look at some videos that I did during the week, what's coming up. And we'll also take a look at one special feature I have for you, and that's on flex nibs. We'll take a look at that as well. So without any further ado, please stay tuned for Fountain Pen Therapy's weekly recap for March 30th, 2025. Okay, so what's new in the fountain pen market, be it in inks, paper, or pens? Well, first of all, Chinese pen market. A couple of things. For those of you who didn't catch it during my last recap, Asvine reached out to me and let me know that they've come up with a gasket that they believe will solve the dry nib issue in the Asvine C2000, that big wooden pen, stable wood. You remember it, for a while there, everybody's trying to figure out a solution to it. Well, it looks like they've come up with a solution. They'll be sending me 10 of these gaskets, along with a video, from what I understand. It gives you instructions on how to install it. And they've also reached out and said that they want to collaborate with the channel, which is good news. So we'll see what that gives in the future. But stay tuned. Apparently, as of April the 1st, you should be able to see that gasket on the Asvine store on Amazon. So look out for that during this upcoming week, if you will. Okay? What else is new? Okay, let me go to my order sheet in AliExpress, and we'll take a look at what's new and exciting in the Chinese pen market. Well, I'm really excited about this one. This one, folks, is the Wing Sung or Junlai 930. It is a huge pen. I think they have a photograph comparing, yeah, this one here. I mean, take a look at that. You see the 628, you see the 629, you see the 630, and there's the 930. I've ordered two. I've ordered one with the broad nib, steel, and one with the medium nib. One will be black on gold trimmings, and the other one will be black on silver trimmings. But as you could see, they also offer it in gold. So if anybody wants to spend $585, you can get that big juicy nib in gold. They have one that's $585, and the other one is even more expensive, $667. All of that, of course, is Canadian. Folks, I'm going to stick to the steel, and we'll see what gives, but it looks like we're going to have some fun with that 930. So I thought I'd mention that. What else we've got? Well, we've got of course, the N25, which I've ordered, and should be coming in anytime now. The Ongdian N25 snake year. So it's, it's the year of the snake. And I didn't go with the blue. I mean, everybody takes the blue. I thought this green was a really nice green. So we'll take a look at that when that comes in. So that's what's new in the Chinese pen market. Not much else. Next thing. Oh, yes. I'd like to show you this. This is on the Novelli site. And this is a Delta pen. It's called the Delta Reservoir Libertà di Scrittura fountain pen. But take a look at this filling system. They call it the ink tank, inspired by a Gary Green that I've been in contact with, actually, who's a big Delta fan. And so I reached out to Nino Marino, who I know very well, and I said, Nino, I just saw this ink tank pen. Where do I buy it? And he says, don't worry about it, Vincent. I'm going to send you one for your review. So I should be expecting that soon. As soon as I get it, we'll review it. It looks like it's just a brand new filling system, which looks very, very interesting. So stay tuned for that. I thought I'd give a shout out to Delta. Next, what do we see? Oh, yes, the Stilo Stile has, and many others have, this new TWSBI. For those of you interested in the TWSBI Echo, this is the slate blue and onyx. So that's a brand new offering from TWSBI. Most of the retailers are advertising this pen, which is a Sailor Compass FUDE de Manen fountain pen, dark green. I have one of those, and I remember Apple Boom sending me one of those for review purposes, and I purchased it, I would say weeks or months ago, but for some reason it's kind of suddenly on the market now in some of the other sites. So we're going to take a look at that pen later on in some of my what we have in the fountain pens studios, and we'll do some writing with that pen in a second. Another shout out to my friend Nino Marino. Take a look at this pen. This is the Nino Marino Signature Jubileum 2025. It's the Jubilee year in Rome, so he's dedicated this pen. Beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous pen. That's the Nino Marino Signature Jubileum of 2025. And that's you can purchase that at Casa della Stilografica. A very, very nice shop, by the way, in Florence that I visited during the summer. Then at the same site, you'll see that they have various offerings. They have this brand new colors for the Mag 600. Here's the Delta, so the Delta is on sale there as well. You'll also have another Delta right here, Signs of the Art. You have a new Radius color here, and a Leonardo Momento Magico in that primary manipulation color. What else we've got? We've got the Visconti Potato Eaters, which is a new pen that's out from Visconti. So that's very interesting. And that's about it in terms of novelty. But I find that some of these Italian sites are probably more in tune with the novelties than some of the American sites. So there you have it, Casa della Stilografica. That's in terms of what's new out there. There you go. So that's my segment for what's new in the market. Stay tuned and we'll go to the next segment. Okay, so we're back, and what I'd like to show you is the pen haul. Pens that were delivered to me this week. I was expecting several more, but they haven't come in yet, so a little bit of a slim picking, if you will, this week, but nonetheless, some interesting stuff here. So let's go to my overhead camera, and I'll show you exactly what it is that I received this week. And I think there's going to be a hell of a lot more next week. So here we go. First things first, put those two boxes aside for now. This is the ADMOC 28. It's supposed to be a replica of the vintage Golden Star 28. From what I understand, it's a vintage Chinese pen. I was convinced that it was, in fact, just an imitation of this other vintage Hero that I had, that I bought on Etsy. They certainly have similar features. Now, this Hero could also be an imitation of that Chinese pen, but it's much shorter, but it does have very similar characteristics. The finials are similar, although the clips, one longer than the other, very similar style. The trimmings, with the double band, bottom finial as well. One pen is slightly thinner than the other, but then when you open it up, this one's got a sort of an ink window there. A beautiful Hero nib, I got to tell you, writes really, really nicely. Very smooth, with this kind of a pump mechanism. And so that is the Hero. This one is the ADMOC 22. Now, I'm somewhat disappointed, and I'll explain that in a second. It comes with a Schmidt nib, and this has a kind of a mechanism where you pump, and it does pump into a sack, if you will. You can open it up here. Yeah, better not, because I think it's well put in there, so I better leave it there. But there's a sack similar to the one you see there. I'm going to ink this up and see if it works. I was a little disappointed because I don't know if you can see this, but first of all, that clip is slightly off-center. I mean, it was really off-center when I got it. I kind of pushed it back into the center. It was slightly unglued here. There's a crevice. You can't see it maybe on the camera, but not very well. Cheap quality, very light. Not much here. I got to tell you, the only thing I think that's worthwhile in this pen is that Schmidt nib. But folks, look, Schmidt nib you can get in any other ADMOC, frankly. I don't think it's worth the $50, $60 that I paid for this thing. I definitely don't recommend it. I'm not even going to do a review on it because I don't think it's worth the 20 minutes of my time. Having said that, I still like that nib, so we're going to use this pen for the, we're going to, ink it up and use it for the ink swatching, if you will. So what else did I get? Well, I've been very critical of Lamy. In fact, if you give me a second, I'm just going to take out what I have in terms of a Lamy collection. Yeah, so I'm back. So this is the extent of my Lamy collection. I've never really gone crazy over the Lamy pen. For some reason or another, it's never really attracted me. This was kind of one of the first fountain pens I ever got, in fact. and I like the aluminum finish. I think they call this the Lamy XL, if I'm not mistaken. Then, of course, you've got the Safari, and this one here is the Vista, I believe. And then there's this disaster of a Lamy 2000. I've never been able to write with this pen for some reason. I know that they are all iconic in nature, and the design is unique, etc., etc. They're wonders of modern design, but it's a pen that I don't enjoy writing with, unfortunately. But I figured I'd give it another go, so I've ordered 2 more, just because I think the colors, or at least I hope, the colors will be something that I like. I haven't opened these up yet, so here it is. That's one. Of course, they don't come with a converter, so you have to pay that separately, which is, right off the bat kind of turns me off. I like this matte finish. Let me just remove this thing so that, well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to ruin that cartridge because we're going to put in the converter. So that's one of them. The other, I like the matte finish on these pens. That's one of the reasons why I ordered them. And this one is the purple, or I don't know what they call it, but same thing. I should have a converter in there somewhere. There we go. So we'll remove that. We'll remove that as well, because I'm going to put in a converter, and we'll ink this up and use it for my ink swatching. So those are the 2 pens and I just want to give them a go. I like these 2 colors. I like the black trimming, and I like the matte finish on these 2. I think these are 2 recent color schemes, if I'm not mistaken, that have come out. And I figured I'd give them a go and see what happens. And maybe I'll, tastes change, and maybe I will start to enjoy these Lamys once and for all. So those are really the three pens that I've acquired this week, or that I received this week. And there you go. We're going to ink them up much later, but I thought I'd show you that. Now, I did receive some interesting nibs, and that's going to be the object of a separate segment of this recap, so we're going to reserve that for just in a few minutes. You'll see I've ordered some nibs that I think you'll enjoy. So that's it for the pen haul. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you what paper I received this week, and then we'll do the swatching of 3 more inks that I've ordered and received. Be right back. Okay, so I'm back for what did I get for you guys for paper this week? Well, let me show you. Actually, the best way, I want to show you what attracted me right away on the website, so of AliExpress. Let me cut into it. This is it. It's called BACHUAN paper, A5. It's fountain pen resistance, and then I did some. I knew the word BACHUAN kind of reminded me of something. Then I realized that may be the same paper that is used in the Kimbor agendas or notebooks that are coming out of China. There's a little bit of contradiction here. It's either its own paper, and they refer to it as the TOMOE, the Chinese TOMOE River paper, or it's actually TOMOE River paper. So one of the two. I've seen in my research, I've seen comments suggesting both, so I'm not sure which is which. If any of you have more in-depth knowledge of this paper, please let us know. Don't hesitate to comment. But I bought this. There were 50 sheets for $8.79, not the cheapest, but I figured I'd give it a go, and we're going to compare one of those sheets with an actual TOMOE River and see what gives. So that's where I thought it would be interesting for all of us. Let me just go to my overhead camera, and here are the 50 sheets. They come in this plastic sleeve. I'm going to open it up. How do I get this? Oh, I see. Okay. Now, it does feel, put it this way, it does feel a lot like a TOMOE River. It feels just as thin as well. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We'll do some swatching with that paper, and we'll compare it to the actual TOMOE River 52 GSM that I have, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so let me set up. We'll set up the ink swatching, and we'll see what this paper gives. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. What are the 3 inks this week? Well, here they are. There are 3 more BACHUAN inks that I've ordered. Now, I forget if this is kind of a gray-black, but we'll take a look at it. I forget what I ordered, frankly. Then there's a purple, and there's a kind of a tealish, greenish blue. So we'll take a look at these 3 inks. I know that the other inks I've had, that BACHUAN inks that I've ordered, have been an absolute success. I use them all the time. Figured I'd add these 3 colors, which are colors that I, think I'm going to be using. So there they are. We'll open them up. Actually, let me just use my knife here. Okay. Come in a very nice packaging, by the way. The bottles are really nice as well. Better quality than Dieman, or even the Jinhao boxes. So hats off to BACHUAN. These bottles are just really nice. Okay, here we go. So those are the 3. Let me put the boxes aside here. So these are the 3 inks. Beautiful bottles, gotta tell you. And let's just hope that that the inks are nice as the bottles. Okay, so we got that there. Let me just... okay, so we're back. We're all set up. Okay, we're all set up. Let me just make sure everything is in view of the camera. I'm going to try this. As it turns out, it may not be gray. It looks like it's kind of a grayish blue, which I'm really happy about. Because I don't use much gray or black, so we'll see what... oh yeah, this is a beautiful gray blue. Very nice. I'm glad. So, I can tell you that just the first touch got a little more texture, but let's give it some time here. Oh, there's a little drop here. Let me just pick that up before it causes a mess. Okay. And I believe I put that one in this pen. So this is the... Now, there are names to these inks, but we're going to say BACHUAN. I guess it's a blue-black. Very nice. And this nib, of course, is a Schmidt nib. They're beautiful, beautiful writers, so I'm not going to give any awards to Admoc. The pen is comfortable, but it's light. It's it's far from what I thought it would be. So this is the Admoc 28, if you will. Okay, and we'll do the same here and see how this writes. Yeah, I feel a little more texture. Thinner line, I would say, slightly thinner line. But so far, color kind of appears the same, doesn't it? Okay, so let me just dry up my nib here. Okay, the next one will be, let's do this purple one. So on this side. Very watery. Not as saturated as I would have wanted it to be. Don't like those light inks, those chromo shading inks, you know. This is what this one looks like it's going to be, but we'll see how it writes. Of course, I put that in this Safari. So this is the BACHUAN. I'm going to call it light purple. Well, at least this nib is not scratchy. And this is the Lamy Safari. I guess it's purple, but I think there's a name for it. It's a little too light for my taste, the ink. There you go. But it's got some very nice shading. It's got some very nice shading, but writing with that ink, I'm not sure. Okay, what else we got here? Let's do with this kind of teal. That's what I would call it. Let me just wash that out. Okay. Hopefully this is not, oh yes. Oh, it's kind of a, more of a green, I would say to you. But, you know, we'll see how it dries up. Very nice. Saturated. Much nicer than that purple. So this is a, I don't know what to call it, but I thought it would be teal, but it's not. It's a dark green. Very nice, folks. Reminds me a little bit of Mont Blanc Irish green, darker. It also feels much nicer under this nib. The nib is fine in this Safari. So yeah, it's got some very interesting shading. I think. Very nice. Definitely recommend the blue and the green. Not sure about the purple, but some of you may like that kind of lighter inks. If you do, very nice. But those blue, that blue is coming out really nicely. So what we'll do And again, I'm going to try to be as patient as possible and let all this dry up. And we'll take a look at how these inks actually perform on this paper. Okay, be right back. Okay, I've been patient, and this is as patient as I will be. So let's take a look at this. Is the TOMOE River Original. And as you can see, I like that the blue comes a lot bluer on the camera, or at least what I'm seeing now. We'll see what it looks like when it's actually edited, but it's really a blue-black as opposed to a light blue, or that, it gives you a little lighter on the camera. It's got some shading, and it's got some sheen there, some red sheen. Very nice color, by the way. The nicest in terms of shading is this purple. It just comes out too light for my taste. Maybe with a thicker or wider pen, like a stub or a broad, we probably appreciate that color a little bit more. But I know some of you like that chroma shading inks, so there you have it. And then you have that dark green, which is really, really nice. I've got to tell you, it's got some sheen, it's got some shading, very nice. And as usual, this is the way it shows up. You can see there's a little bit of see-through on the swatching, which is to be expected, but very little in terms of the writing. And let's take a look at how this BACHUAN paper performed. First of all, in terms of comparison, as you can see, I'm probably getting more of the ink effect on the BACHUAN paper than I am on the TOMOE River. Take a look at that. A little more sheening there, a lot more shading there, and very nice sheen in this dark green. But it also depends, and this is more true to the real color, if you will. You can see it's a lot darker. It kind of reminds me, though, and that's what I'm afraid, that this may be actually TOMOE River and it may be Sanson paper, but just because of the way the ink is performing. In the back, as you can see, you've got some, bleed through on the swatching, but very little on the actual writing. As you can see, just barely, little bit of ghosting, but not much. So this BACHUAN paper could be something to look out for. I'll keep researching it just to see, because if the prices are good, then you can get probably TOMOE River paper at a lot cheaper prices. So there you have the paper, and there you have the swatching. Stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, so for this next segment, I'd like to dedicate it to flex nibs. I know that over the past year, I've been fascinated by different flex nibs, and whenever I can get my hands on any pen that advertises itself as being anything near flex, I try to jump on it, okay? And try to show you, I thought I'd show you what I've collected so far, and then I'll show you the 4 recent editions, and at the same time we'll do some writing. So let's go to my overhead camera, and we'll show you some eye candy, as they say. Okay, first of all, the first 2 here are the noodlers, the AAB and the triple tail. I've got in this Ranga pen, I've got just a Yowo steel flex nib. Okay, these come in extra fine or fine. What you have is that little cutout on the side, and that's supposed to make this pen flexy. I think they're semi-flex. They're a little bit softer, but they're far from being flex. The next 2 pens are among my favorites, so we'll put those aside right away. Fountain Pen Revolution, Ultra Flex Nib. We'll put those there because we're going to do some writing in a second. Then I've got the the Good Blue. And I've got it both in steel, and I put this, the other nib in this Delta Dune, the titanium. Very nice as well. So actually, what we'll do is we'll just put them up forward so we know which ones to test. Then after that, I've got a series of what I would say are Osprey flex nibs. I have a funny suspicion that those Osprey nibs are really Canwright nibs and nothing more, just branded. They're a little bit flexy, but they're not among my favorite. The same goes with the Canwright and the other Osprey that I have here. So they're not my favorite at all, at all. The next two pens, actually this is a Bexley pen, but in there I have a Santini Superflex Superflex 18 karat gold stub, which is very nice. And in this most recent edition, this is actually a Santini pen, I have a Superflex fine 18 karat. So we'll take a look at how these perform in comparison. Then, of course, I got my two Peniders. This is the Penider quill nibs, which some people would argue are not really flex, but they flex physically very much. This is the medium nib, and this other Grande Bellezza is the fine. So we'll take a look at how these do. Of course, you have my Mag 600, Magna Carta, which is probably the star of the show, so to speak. One of my favorites. We have the Omas Bologna calligraphy pen with the Regalia cross flex nib, which is also very, very nice. One of my favorite pens, La Dotta Scribo with Field of Flex, a fine nib. Okay, so that's one of my favorites. And then we've got the three pilots. We've got the 743, which is the bigger of the two, with that number, what is it, number 15? I think they have the 15 FA nib, okay? And then the even softer 742 with the number 10 FA nib and with a replaced ebonite feed so that it follows, as they say. And then we've got the Pilot Falcon, which is not one of my favorites. Okay, so there you have what I have in my collection. What I've added are these, and we'll get to those in a second. So I've added 4 more. So let's just put this to the side, if you will, and take out. Okay, so we're all set with my Tomoe River A4 size notepad. Let's start with this Regalia, which is a Regalia. I keep always mixing him up with this Good Blue. So this is the Good Blue. Flex nib. Very nice. What I like about this one is that, like many others that I have, is that you could get away with everyday writing with this one, you know. And it does have and again, you can push it, and you could see that performs really, really nicely. And this, of course, is the steel number 6 nib. Then I have the titanium. So this is the Good Blue. I find it less flexy, amazingly enough, but it's the titanium number 6. And I would say it's not as flexy as the steel for some reason. But again, you can write with this, you know, every day. No issues here. And the feed kind of follows fairly nicely. Then you've got my Santini. Now this one is not really, I mean, it's a soft nib, a very soft nib. This is the Santini, what they call Superflex stub. But as you can see, it's just a thick line, and it has a lot of bounce. But I wouldn't, you know, some people would argue that that's not a flex nib. The same Santini but this is the Super Flex Fine. Again, I would argue it's just I mean, you can squeeze out of it a little bit of line. I would argue it's just a very soft nib, but very pleasant and an everyday writer. Similarly, this Peniter, some would argue, is just a nib that does flex, but just makes just a big, just makes a lot of ink come out. That's all it does. This is a fine, and is it a fine or an extra fine? Extra fine, and take a look at that. I mean, you could argue, you can see that the lines, and again, I apologize, I'm not good at these. My hands tremble, but, there's no real line variation. It's just a lot of ink comes out of there. But the nib is extremely physically flexy and pleasant. Then, of course, you have my, I don't know if this writes, because I haven't written with this in a while, but let's just see. This is the, it's what I figured, Magna Carta. I mean, this is a flex nib. You could tell that the line variation, even in everyday, just that, I'm not doing flexing calligraphy, if you will, but you can get that line variation simply by writing with this pen. Oh. Yeah, can't push it too far. There you go. Excellent. This is what, vintage feels like. Then I have my Bologna. So this is the Omas Bologna with the Regalia Crossflex. Feels funny when you write with this pen, but it does provide, oh, I'm railroading it, but I'm wondering if it even has any ink here. Here we go. And it kind of scratches the paper, but it's still a lot of fun. So that's the Omas Regalia. Then I've got my La Dotta Scribble, one of my favorite pens. So this is the Scribo Fine Field de Flex, as they call it. 14 karat. Very nice. Again, an everyday writer with a very, very soft and bouncy and flexy nib. I mean, it is a flexy nib. Okay, it flexes. Then you got my Pilot. Now, the Pilots are great nibs. This is the Pilot Custom 743 with the FA nib, 14 karat. And this one is the less flexy of the two FA nibs that I have. This is the bigger one, number 15. And surprisingly enough, but perhaps not, because I'm starting to get the feeling that the smaller the nib, the more you can actually get that flex out of it. Just like vintage nibs. Pilot, take a look at that. .14 karat, and this one gives you a lot more line variation. But again, people complained about the feed not keeping up, so I replaced it with a Nebonite feed, and this is the number 10 nib. Very, very nice pen, like most Pilot pens. This is the Falcon. I don't like it. You have to know how to use this, so I'm not even going to bother. Then I have one of my favorite flex nibs, and this is the Ultra. So this is the Fountain Pen Revolution. Ultra Flex. And this is the steel version. They actually have gold. I haven't tried it yet. Find that the chrome version of that nib is much flexier, although maybe just a question of use. Then this dual cover, it's got a bit of gold and a bit of silver. I just find that the chrome one feels softer, but this pen is starting to give me more line variations as I use it. So the longer you use it, the more you kind of break it in, so to speak. As you could see, it's giving me a wider line, even though it doesn't feel as soft, but it does have that flex spring where it springs back at you. And I guess that's where you can get the fine, and then you can get the fine line and then the thicker line, which is what a true flex should do. Okay, so those are in essence what I've got in my collection so far. Okay, what I'd like to do is show you what I've acquired. So let me just remove this and show you what I've purchased as part of a pen haul, I guess you can say. I've put this nib, these are all nibs that I've put in existing pens in this Asvine V200, and it's I don't know if you see that, yeah, it's a Kaweco flex nib, fine. What it is that you can see the slit is just taken right down to the bottom. They just pushed it right a little more and provided a little more flex to the nib. So, but I find, and I'll show you in a second, so this is the Kaweco Flex Fine. What disturbs me about this nib, it is a very nice writing experience. It's just that when you write with it, if you go too quickly, it sprays ink. There's that spring, and it sprays ink on the paper, which is not always pleasant, but it is a very a very fun experience, if you will. So, and I apologize, I can't do the flex movements as well as some people, but as you can see, it does give you that spring for those of you who are into that. So that's the new edition. Second new edition, you've seen this one before. This is the Aurora Fine Flex. I don't think this is a flex nib. It's just a very soft fine. As you could see, very little line variation as it turns out. But because it is soft and a little flexy, it just gives you a thicker line. But this thing I've been using all week, fabulous. Another edition this week. By the way, this nib, along with the Kaweco nib, I purchased on FP Nibs. And here it is. It's the Bach Flex nib. So again, the slit goes further down, and then you kind of got that semicircle there to give it some flex. So this is the Bach Fine. Gotta tell you, this is a very nice pen. Now, Very nice nib, I should say. Very juicy. And it does give you that thicker line. Got a nice bounce. It follows really nicely, I got to tell you. For a steel nib without an ebonite feed. Very nice. So Bach, there you go. Not my favorite nib brand, but as it turns out, this will be a fun pen to write with. And then la pièce de résistance, as they say, is this little nib. I just threw it in at the last minute, figuring why not. It wasn't too expensive. This is a Schmidt number 5 flex nib. You can see the slit goes all the way down. And this, as it turns out, is probably the one that resembles the most vintage pens. So this is the Schmidt number 5, and it's a fine flex. But as you could see, and again, I wish I could do this for you, but it gives you a very thin line and then a thick line. Very thin line and then a thick line, which is a flex nib, what a flex nib is supposed to do. It's supposed to go up, and then when you flex it down, then it springs back up, gives you a thin line, and then it gives you a thicker line. This is actually doing it like a true vintage, and it just no problem in terms of railroading either. Now I think they have a number 6 version. I may order it just for the fun of it, but I really recommend this, folks. If you're into flex nibs, this little number 5 Schmidt at an FP nibs, I'll put all that in the description. It's going to turn out to be, and by the way, what I did is I put it in this Admach M400 because it does have that Schmidt section that accommodates Schmidt nibs, so it fits in here really, really nicely. So there you have the 4 additions to my flex nib collection for this week, if you will. And I'd like to show you 2 more that I'm looking out for. So without any further ado, I'll go to my camera. Not my camera, my computer. Just give me a second. Just 1 second till I get my computer up and going. Okay, here we go. First of all, this one here, it's the XV Flex Pro nib set. It's a flex nib. I don't know what kind of result this will give me, but they have a little video that kind of shows you how the pen performs. It appears to be very similar to the quill nib of Peniter. I've ordered it. It's not very expensive, as it turns out. What is it? $20. I will let you know how it all works out. Okay, the next thing is this size number 6 nib Matama Stream Semi-Flex Hard Nib. This was recommended to me by one of the viewers. Unfortunately, it's sold out, and I'm not sure that I can find it anywhere else, but it looks like a very interesting nib. And if anyone out there knows where I can get my hands on one of these, I would really appreciate you sending me a link or something, and we'll see what gives. But there you go. It's a Wancher Semi-Flex nib, which is supposedly a very, very, very nice writing product. So there you have my just a kind of a shout out to my flex nib collection and how it's evolving. And lastly, I've got 2 nibs coming from a gentleman by the name of Shanghai, and let me see if I have his Instagram handy. No, I don't. Okay, no, I don't. Shanghai on Instagram. He's in fact creating 2 flex nibs for me. And he's a flex guy. You can see on Instagram, he gives you an idea of all of what his pens can do. And one of them is a broad, I think, a broad flex. So I'm really looking forward to those. I think he's done one. He's working on the other. He's got a lot of demand. He's on his own. So I figured, take your time, just get it right. And when I get it, I get it. And as soon as I get it, you'll be the ones to enjoy the first writing samples of that nib. So there you have it for my flex nib segment. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the currently ink segment of the program. I'll show you the pens that I was using during the week, which, by the way, I replaced some during the week, and I'll explain to you why. Let me just go to my overhead camera. Here is a selection of pens that I put in this beautiful case every week. There's 12 writing instruments, okay? And I changed a couple because I originally thought I would put in that big mammoth Canwrite number 9 and a big Ranga, a giant pen, but as it turned out, it didn't really fit properly here, and it was kind of badly forcing the entire case. And I said, before I break this case, I'll replace the pens. So there you have it. I also decided, as I mentioned to you, I always like to put in a ball pen, a ballpoint, a pencil, and a roller ball. The roller ball of choice these days is this little gem of mine that I keep repeating is just a beautiful writing instrument. By the way, this paper is some of the paper I used this week. So it's cheap docket paper you can buy on Amazon. So this is the Pelican. Take a look at this, folks. So it's the R400 rollerball. It is the rollerball that feels like a fountain pen. So there you have it, along with my my Mont Blanc 149 is always there. This is a pen that never fails. You pick it up, and unless there's no ink, it will write for you each time, every time. Maybe it is worth $1,200. Then I replaced my Mont Blanc pencil with this Delta pencil. Nice nib, and works really nicely. So there you have it. That's my pencil for the week. And my ballpoint is this Mia Montegrappa. Very nice, kind of a vintagey looky pen with some silver cap and silver trimmings. Very nice. So that was my ball pen for the week. In terms of pens, fountain pens, first of all, I had this one of my favorite, one of my favorite pens. I wish I had the original, which is the Mont Blanc. But this is a Majon. There's a P138, I believe, with a medium nib. Look how juicy that is. Smooth. Really, really smooth. Joy writing with this pen, I can tell you that much. Posted or unposted. I think I inked it twice. Let me just focus in a little more. There we go, and I'll just push that aside. Then for my red pen, as I mentioned, I always have a red pen. I stuck with I've been using this for a while now, my Wing Sung 630 with a medium number 8 steel nib. Writes first time, every time. Then this is a pen I acquired recently. This is the Wing Sung. Enjoyed this writing with this pen all week. Wing Sung 601A, but it has a Bobby medium nib. So got that nice, I like these nibs. I think Schaefer, eh? It's Schaefer inspired. I think I've got to get the real thing. So I'm looking out for them. Then I had my Pro Gear that I took out. This is not the Pro Gear Slim. This is a regular size. So this is the Sailor. With that beautiful feedback. So typical of Sailor. Very, very nice. Beautiful writer. That's what I had. Then I had my Ranga Abhimanyu. Actually, this is the Grand Abhimanyu. And this one has the Schmidt. Broad. Steel number 6. Very nice. Saw this earlier. This pen was with me all week, which is my Aurora Fine Flex Optima. It's a 14 karat. Very nice pen. These are the two pens that I added, that I replaced the giant pens with. First of all, a real Omas Bologna. This is the Bologna, not the ones they're selling now. 14 karat nib. So this is the Omas. Take a look at this, folks. This is a medium nib. Almost like, writes like a broad. So soft and smooth. Beautiful pen. The blue is the Bologna. That's the original. Then I've got this Mr. Cypress pen that I've mentioned, I've reviewed, and I haven't published yet. So this is a Mr. Cypress or Cypress pen. I forget the name. The name is kind of a bunch of numbers, but it has, is this the 18 karat? Yeah, this is the 18 karat fine nib with a little bit of a spring in it. But I find it's not as springy as the 14 karat, but also a beautiful writer. A little bit like Sailor. It's got that chalky sort of, and it's also a nice pen, chalky sort of feedback. So there you have my pens currently inked for the week. And what we'll do now is I'll put together another 12 for next week. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back with pens that I think I'm going to ink, that I've inked for the upcoming week. First of all, I got the same set of my 149 is there, my pencil Delta, and my Maya Montegrappa that I just showed you, along with my roller ball, which is the Pelican R400. I've also already done the Omas Bologna. I think I'm going to keep it in the mix. Then I'm going to, I bought this pen, AdMock 28. As much as I hate the pen, I think I'm going to give it a go. So this is the AdMock 28 replica of the Golden Star, whatever that may be, 28 with a Schmidt nib. There we go. Keep that pen. At least the nib is nice. So, and I figure why not keep going with the brand new Lamy. So this is the Lamy Safari, and I wanted to try that light ink on this paper just to see how it works out. It works out very nicely. So that's the Lamy Safari with that Majon light purple. And this, I believe, is it's a medium. Medium nib. So you know what? On cheap paper, it seems to perform better than on expensive Tomoe River paper. This is the other Lamy. And this one is with that new Mahjong dark green ink. And this is a broad nib. I mean, in the end, these Lamys are very reliable, I must say. What else? Oh, I've added this week my Jinhao 159 with the number 8 size steel. And this is a fine or a medium? A medium. Nice pen. Reminds me of my 149. Then I've got, did I ink this? I think I forgot to ink it. Let me just see for a second. Yeah, I forgot to ink it, but I'm going to, just give me a second. We'll show you how this pen writes. So I'm back. This is my Delta Lex. So it's my law pen, if you will, black. And it's got that unique Fusion, is it a stub? Yes. Fusion nib that Delta came up with, the original Delta. So this is my Delta Black Lex, because it also, I think, comes in white, with the Fusion stub nib. Just a beautiful pen. So there you have it, my Delta. For my red pen for the week, we're going to go back to my Asvine C2000. So this is the Asvine C2000. By the way, this has Hero. I just filled it. Hero Red ink. And this, of course, is the number 8 steel. And this is the, is it a 1.1? Yeah, this is the 1.1 stub. So we'll have some fun with the Asvine this week. And lastly, going to go with my beautiful Asvine J16. And this has a Yowo broad nib. Number 6 steel. There you go. So that's going to be my roundup for the week. Let me just prepare this shot for my templates, if you will. There you go. That's it. We'll be right back. Okay, so I mentioned earlier on about this new Sailor Compass FUDE nib, or FUDE Dieman fountain pen, dark green, that I actually received this for review from Applebaum some time ago, but it's appearing on most of the American retail, online retailer sites. I'm not sure why, if they just got it or they're but Applebaum's had it for a while, and here it is. Now, I have this other FUDE nib that I'd like to compare to, just to show you the difference. Okay, so this is the Sailor. Now, if I just normal positioning of my hand, I get a really fat line, as you could see, which is, for me, unless you're doing headings and stuff in a journal, it's pretty not very practical. So if you want to get a thinner line, of course, with all FUDE libs, you have to really put the pen up to a point where it's very uncomfortable to write with, I would say, which is a little surprising for Sailor, because you would expect Sailor to just perfect this nib. On the other hand, this is a $17 US pen, so you cannot expect, but it writes fairly well, I would say to you, in terms of fairly smooth. You can feel a little bit of feedback just because that nib is very, thin and steel-like. But there you have the FUDE compass, Sailor compass nib. Now, compare this to a more expensive, but this is the best FUDE nib that I have ever written with and that I have in my collection. This is the Magna Carta Urban. So, as you could see, I don't have to really alter my whoop. Oof. That wasn't supposed to happen. But I don't really have to alter that much my position. Now there is a little bit of baby's bottom there. I don't know why. I just inked this pen, maybe. But, and then if you really want a thick line, then you can, it's the opposite. I need to go much lower with this. But straight up, it's much, so I find this a much better, more comfortable FUDE nib than the compass. I mean, it kind of leaked on me here for some reason. I don't know why, but there you have it. So I thought I'd show you the two FUDE nibs side by side. Well, stay tuned. We'll go to the next segment. Another question I was asked was about this particular notebook and this book cover. Just to give you a sense of size, this is my Manufactus cover, and I'll get to that in a second, which is an A5, or fits an A5 notebook. This is a B6 Slim. You can look that up on Etsy. Just look up leather covers, and I'm sure you'll get many of them, and you could choose the one you like and the one that costs the less. It has just a very simple, this is mine, this is an addition, so I can remove that. And the notebook is this Nanami B6 ruled TOMOE River notebook. And just so that you can appreciate where I got it from, let me just cut to the website. Here's the Nanami website that I keep recommending, folks. Nanami paper, you can find TOMOE River, you can find the Cafe B6 right here. And there it is, this one here. Ruled, it's $19. 7mm ruled, okay? You also can get it in the A6 if you wish. And you can also get it in different versions of it, if you will. But Nanami paper is always a great place. TOMOE River has lots of products there, and they tell you which one is the new TOMOE River paper and which one is the original TOMOE River paper. Look at the difference in price. $62 versus $28. So there you have that. Now, in terms of the other one that people keep asking me about is this one. And this is a Manufactus. But the beauty about it is that you get this hard-covered, leather-covered case that usually come with, a notebook, and then it's like one use and that's it, you're done. But this one you can remove. So it's a refillable. I've filled it up with one of the Nanami paper, A5 size, original TOMOE River paper, but there you go, there you have it. So as you could see, you can refill the notebook from year to year, have it initial too, And that's the manufactus. So for those of you who've been asking me, and it's probably a question that I get almost every week, but there you have it. It's my pleasure to answer. It's about 120, 130, something like that, dollars. There you have that. Okay, another question that was asked, and I thought was intriguing and got me curious. The viewer in question is thinking about buying this Dolce Vita. This is the original oversized Dolce Vita. This is not the one that's currently being sold. It's one way back when. It is the grail pen for me, and I invite you to take a look at my video on this, the unboxing. Very emotional. Beautiful, just a beautiful pen. It is my favorite pen in my collection. And the question asked was, before I buy this pen, and you know, it costs a few dollars, right? He wanted to make sure that he felt comfortable with the grip, I guess, with the size and the girth of this pen. And he asked me, do you have any cheap pens or low-cost pens, budget pens, that I could buy and that I could try to see if I will ultimately feel comfortable with that huge, huge section. Now, I got to tell you that that section is quite big. So what I did is I went through my collection and I said, let me find the pens that I believe, look, and I may have missed some, but that I believe would have the same or the biggest girth on the nib section right there. First of all, this is the DV2, and you've got to see that this is the modern version of, not the oversized, but just the DV 2.0. You can see that the girth is not nearly the same. Okay, so you can forget about this one because the girth is not the same, in my view. There are other Dolce Vita inspired pens, such as this one. Okay, you'll see a lot of them, especially with this kind of motif. And as big as this pen is, I don't think that the girth of that section is the same. So we can discount those. In my view, the ones that come the closest, and in any event, these two pens here, even if they were as big as this one, cost you too much. They're not low budget. Okay, so in terms of low budget, I think that the Jinao 9019 and the Jinao 159, which are very, very economical. That's the 159, and this is the 159X. So this one is the steel, the old versions, and this is the new one. I think are the ones that come the closest. Now, this is a big titanium pen that has no name. Would also come very, very close. But that's about it. Oh, yes, and this Canwright Mammoth would come close. And let me just close up so you can take a look at the sections. And I think that if you feel comfortable with the 91019 or don't feel comfortable, then there's a good chance you may not feel comfortable with the Delta oversize. Canwright is another option. It's a little more expensive, but this one here you can pick up for, I don't know what they go for now, but you know, anything between $15 and $30. Try it out, and then you'll know if you like that big section. So I don't know if that answered the gentleman or the woman's question, but there you have it. The other question I was asked is that you'll recall that in my previous recaps, I had kind of reviewed my purchases. In particular, this is the original Vanishing Point Pilot with a 14 karat stub. This one is a Majon A1, but what's nice about it is that I replaced that nib, and that nib is not a fine or extra fine. It's a medium nib that I purchased from Bobby or Chinese Pens or Saint pen PPS on Etsy or on AliExpress. And I also purchased this Jinhao 10. And the question that was asked of me is can you just follow up to see if there is a dry nib issue with these pens? So let's start with the Jinhao 10. As you could see, this is 1 week and it's not writing. Completely dry. So that's the Jinhao 10. The next one is this Mahjong A1, but this time with Bobby's nib. So this is the Mahjong A1 with the Bobby medium nib. I've got to tell you that in terms of dryness, this one's got an issue. This one doesn't. Now, you know, the ink could make a difference, but I doubt very much that it would make that kind of bit difference. This is a much prettier pen in my view, but if it's going to dry up that way, let's just see the expensive Pilot, how that one performs. I recall it having a little bit of a drying issue. So this is the Pilot. There you go. You see? So, you know, for those folks that want to knock cheap pens like this one, because this thing is like $10, and this one is anywhere between $150 and $200 with a 14 karat nib, and it dried up on me anyway. So far, the A1 is number one. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, next segment is YouTube reviews. What have I got for you? Well, I think I've got 3 that I'd like to share with you. First of all, Fontaine de Plume, my French friend, came out with a comparison video between the Hongdian 100 and the Hongdian Ode 100, which is the brand new one, the offering that appears now. And one still wonders if it's a new one or not. And he goes through the various comparisons and goes into detail of the 2 pens. And he's got an English voice there. Now it's either an automatic translator or maybe even AI. But I thought it was interesting because if he can reach some of the English viewers, you'll see what I mean by somebody who can really dissect the pen in the very finer details. One additional thing that I'd like to mention about the Ode 100. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the pens and I want to show you something. So here are the pens, and this is the Ode, the one with the red star that I know offends some of you, but having said that, one of the improvements of this pen, and I was wondering why they did it, you can see that the ink window, this is a transparent ink window, and this one is, there's actual, material there. It's extended, if you will. And one of my viewers pointed out to me that the reason they've done that is this pen kind of snapped. They've had complaints about it snapping, I don't know where. I don't know if it snaps here or there. But because of that ink window, if you are not careful, it will snap on you right there. So this may be, according to that viewer, actually a couple of viewers, that's one of the reasons why they would have done this, to kind of secure that transition there, that integration between the nib section and the actual barrel. So I thought I'd mention that. I don't believe that that is wrong. It makes perfect sense. So that's Fontaine de Plume. After that, I'd like to point out Doodlebud has got around to looking at all the Hongdian inks. And you remember I've already reviewed those inks, but I guess he's lucky. He got them all free from Hongdian or Asvine. I had to buy them all, but that's the difference. But he goes through them. So if you want a different opinion or just his own opinion on those inks, take a look at that. It may be of his interest. I think they're wonderful inks. And then, of course, you got Hemingway Jones. He always likes to do review of pens in a different way. He doesn't like straight up reviews like we do, and he finds them very boring. And so what he did is he reviewed one of the Gravitas pens by interviewing Ben Walsh of Gravitas. So at the same time, you get a bit of Ben Walsh, you get a bit about Gravitas in general, you get a bit about pens and how you design pens, and at the same time, he gets to review the pen in question. So I thought that was interesting. So there you have it. Those are in terms of other people's videos on YouTube. What about me? Well, I welcome you to check out my recap of last week. Don't forget that my recaps have captions there, and you can get to see different things like papers, inks. It's just not a weekly news flash. It's actually reviewing all kinds of interesting things. So take a look at the timestamps. There may be things of interest there if you haven't seen it yet. And of course, my comprehensive guide, part 3. But I just want people to know that there is a part 1 and a part 2. As I've put it here on the screen, you'll see that I go through a lot of different notebooks. In all, I think you've got more than 200 paper products there in all 3 videos. So great resource for those of you who don't know. You've got the 3 parts there. And then, of course, coming up, well, I've got a series that I've come up, but I've added now the BACHUAN collection. So there's the Asvine, my Asvine collection. There's the BACHUAN collection. There's, of course, that Cypress pen. There's the Radius Settimo. There's the Stipula Lucens, and a comparison of low-budget vacuum fillers. So there you have it, what's coming up on my channel. And lastly, but not least, there is a channel by the name of Circolo Stilografico Romano, so fountain pen Roman circle, if you will. It's a small community of Italian pen collectors, and the head of that community, if you will, is an individual who's originally from Rome, and he always has this thing with his buddy by the name of Stilorso, and they go through pens and pen reviews and opinions, etc. And they called me and they said we'd like to interview. So I'm going to be giving an interview in Italian on Circolo Stilografico Romano. It's going to be videotaped on Sunday night, so I don't know when it's up, but I'll see. Depending on how it goes, you may want to just see me speak Italian, if nothing else. So there you have it, folks. So that wraps it up for this week. Sorry for the low energy, if you will, for this week, but like I said, I'm not feeling too well. I think after this taping, I'm going to do my editing, make sure it's ready to up and go tomorrow, and go straight to bed, folks. So take care. Take care of yourself. Please subscribe and thumbs up, even though the energy was a little bit lacking this week. Ciao, folks. Take care.